warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And honorable lecturers, Mr. Febra Ancarkusuma. Good evening. Thank you for joining today's discussions. Our topic is Pancasila as a study of Indonesian national history. This topic is important because Pancasila is the foundation of Indonesia. It is also a result of a long history, debates, and the struggle of Indonesia people. By studying Pancasila through history, we can understand how it was created and why it is important for Indonesia today. Our agenda will be first, opening, secondly, presentations, and the third is closing. Before we start, I'd like to give a short introduction. Pancasila was formed through many discussions in BPUPKI and PPKI. It was influenced by Indonesian culture, national values, and the experience of colonialism. Today, we will learn more about this history and why Pancasila is still relevant now. Now, let us move to the main sessions. To our speaker, Chelsea Olivia, we invite you to present your material. Time and place is yours.
The Proposal of Pancasila. On April 29, 1945, Japan formed BPUPKI, Badan Penyelidikan Usaha-Usaha Persiapan Kemerdekaan Indonesia, which was led by Dr. Rajiman Widyaningrat. The first BPUPKI meeting, May 29 to June 1st, 1945, discussed the main topic about the proposed foundation of the state. On June 1st, 1945, E.R. Soekarno proposed 5 basic principles of the state, namely, first, nasionalisme atau kebangsaan Indonesia, second, internasionalisme atau perikemanusiaan, third, mufakat or demokrasi, fourth, kesejahteraan sosial, fifth, ketuhanan yang berkebudayaan, which was later named Pancasila. Soekarno also offered a more concise version, namely Trisila, consisting of sosionasionalisme, sosiodemokrasi, ketuhanan yang Maha Esa, as well the simplest form Ekasila, which is based on asas gotong royong. Next, please. The second BPUPKI meeting on July 10 to 16, 1945, resulted in Jakarta Charter. The formulation of the Jakarta Charter, first, ketuhanan dengan kewajiban syariat Islam bagi pemeluknya, second, kemanusiaan yang adil dan beradab, third, persatuan Indonesia, fourth, kerakyatan yang dipimpin oleh hikmat kebijaksanaan dalam permusyawaratan atau perwakilan, fifth, keadilan sosial bagi seluruh rakyat Indonesia. The dropping of the atomic bombs on Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, and Nagasaki on August 9, 1945, became one of the factors that accelerated independence of Indonesia. The ratification of Pancasila. On August 12, 1945, Soekarno, Hatta, and Rajiman were summoned to Saigon by Japan to discuss plans for Indonesia's independence. On August 14, 1945, Japan surrendered to the Allies, prompting Indonesian youth to push for an immediate proclamation. On August 16, 1945, the Rengas Dengklok incident. Soekarno and Hatta were taken by the youth group to urge the proclamation independent as soon as possible. On August 17, 1945, the proclamation of independent Indonesia was read. On August 18, 1945, the PPKI meeting decided to ratify the 1945 Constitution, appointed Soekarno as President and Muhammad Hatta as Vice President, and formed KINIP. The original first principle, ketuhanan dengan kewajiban syariat Islam sebagai pemeluknya, was changed to ketuhanan yang Maha Esa for the sake of unity.
Okay,
Yes.
let's move to our speaker, to Reza. Time and place is yours.
Thank you, Sandy. Please, next slide, please. So, we're gonna discuss the dynamics of Pancasila in the nation history. First, we have pre-independence. In the early 20th century, national awareness grew through organizations like Budi Utomo and Sarekat Islam, leading to the Youth Plague. During this era, ideas about the foundation state philosophy began to form. Pancasila emerged as the crystallization of Indonesian noble values developed through debates, experience, and struggles against colonialism. Second, early independence. After the 1955 proclamation, Pancasila was formally established as the state foundation in the preamble of the Constitution. However, Indonesia faced political instability, Dutch military aggression, and internal rebellions like PKI Madiun, DITII. Despite multiple constitutional changes, RES 1959, UUDS 1950, Pancasila remained the recognized foundation. Economically, Indonesia struggled, but the values of mutual cooperation helped maintain unity and resilience. Next, Orde Lama. In 1959 till 1966, Sukarno reinstated the 1955 Constitution in 1959, marking the start of guided democracy. Pancasila was emphasized rhetorically, but its interpretation was influenced by Sukarno's political concept, including Manipulus Dek and Nasakom. Efforts to merge nationalism, religion, and communism conflict with Pancasila core principle. Politically, Pancasila became more of legitimizing tool for the regime than a true guiding philosophy. Tensions between ideologies nearly displaced Pancasila during rising communist influence, but it ultimately remained as the state foundation. Then, next slide, please. We have new Orde Baru in 1966 till 1998. Under Suharto government, Pancasila was positioned as the sole ideology meant to purify state life after perceived order deficiency. Programs like 4P, guidelines for the appreciation and practice of Pancasila, spread state-defined interpretation of Pancasila through massive indoctrination. Pancasila became the only principle of asas tunggal for all organizations. While stability and uniformity were achieved, Pancasila was heavily monopolized by the government and used to maintain power. The failure of to genuine the eventual collapse of the regime. And the last reform era in 1998 till now. At first, Pancasila faces a legitimacy crisis due to its association with New Order in communication. Political freedom brought competing ideologies, causing Pancasila to the lost prominence. However, constitutional amendments reaffirmed Pancasila as the state foundation, and democratic reforms revitalized its relevance. Later governments received Pancasila discourse, with notable developments including establishment of UKPPIP and its successors BPIP. Officially recognized of the 1st of June as the birth of the Pancasila, reinforcement of Pancasila education in school and universities. Presiden Joko Widodo emphasized strengthening Pancasila values as a guiding force in national life. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the Reza presentations. Let's move to our material. Will be delivered by Alisa Gwen Halim. To Alisa, time and place is yours.
Thank you, Sandy. Next slide, please. Okay. The development and implementation of Pancasila values in the economic sector. The pre-independence, the Dutch colonial economy was exploitative. The people suffered and national awareness began to grow with the values of justice, mutual cooperation, and unity. So in the pre-independence era, Indonesia economy was controlled by the Dutch and only benefit the colonizer. Pancasila values in this era are justice, humanity, and unity. The second one is in the early independence, the economy was very bad due to war and inflation. The creation of Ori money, BNI, and the nationalization of foreign companies reflected the spirits of self-reliance and social justice. The economic was very bad. Prices went up and money lost its values, and many other things was destroyed after the war. So the government built a free economy. The Pancasila values in this era are democracy and social justice. The third one is the old order. The concept of a guided economy and the nationalization of Dutch companies represent the values of independence, self-reliance, and economic equality, although inflation remained high. So in the old order type, President Sukarno wanted Indonesia to have its own strong economy. The government took over foreign companies and tried to make it stand on its own, also known as berdikari. But due to bad management and politics, the economy stays weak. The Pancasila values is independence and fairness. Next slide, please. The fourth one is the new order. Development through replica, the Green Revolution, and cooperative reflected the types of mutual cooperation, social justice, and unity, although the results were still unequal. So in the new order, President Suharto started a new order to make the economy stable and grow. The government followed Pancasila and made replica plans for development. The Pancasila values are unity and social justice. The last one is the Reformation era. Economic reforms emphasized transparency, democracy, regional autonomy, as well as the empowerment of SMEs and international cooperation. So in the Reformation era, Indonesia fixed the crisis with democracy and fairness. The Pancasila values are democracy, social justice, and teamwork. Thank you. That's all from me.
Okay, thanks from Alisa. The next presentation will be delivered by Bambang Rizky. Bambang Rizky, time and place is yours.
The historical development of Indonesia, economic system, challenge and problem. Indonesian economic system has evolved through three major periods: independent era, new order, and reformation era. In the independent era, they use economic system etatisme. Etatisme means allow power to the government, which is when the government control most of the economy to make sure everyone's needs are met. Sound fair, but if the government control too much, people lose creativity. And the challenge for independent era is weak economic infrastructure and limited national production, political instability and national security, state domination without efficiency. New Order 1966 to 1998. In the New Order, they use the Pancasila economic system, which is mixed government control, cooperation, and freedom, aiming for fairness and teamwork so everyone grows together. But sometimes it's hard to balance, and too much control can slow things down or cause bureaucracy and corruption. The main challenge in this era is widening social and economic inequality a weak economy, democracy, and centralization of power. The Reformation era, 1998 to now. The Reformation era in Indonesia started after 1998 crisis when people wanted fairer and more transparent economy. The government reduced its control to give more space to the private sector and focus on democracy, anti-corruption, and open markets. The challenge in this era is corruption, collusion, and nepotism, KKN, and that are still entrenched, economic inequality and social gap that are still high, digital inequality and technology information. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for Bambang. The presentation will be delivered by me. Study case in Kasus Lumpur Lapindo. It causes by drilled the gas well closely. Hot mud came out and covered villages. Many people lost their homes. The company didn't take responsibility. And the second Kasus Jiwasraya 2018. This is a corruption case in a government insurance company. And the third one is monetary crisis in 1997 and until 1998. The value of rupiah dropped very fast, and this crisis causes reformation, a big change in Indonesia's politics and economics. That's all from me. The next will be delivered by Pelangi Putria. Time and place is yours.
Okay, next slide, please. In this slide, we can see several strategies to recontextual Pancasila. The first one is revitalize Pancasila education and integrate values in curriculum, strengthening educator competence, strengthening public ethics and social integrity, bureaucratic ethics reform, strengthening social cohesion and tolerance based on humanity, and literacy on tolerance, interfaith and intercommunity dialogue, relevance of Pancasila in the digital era, and digitalization of Pancasila education. Next slide, please. Okay, so to sum things up, is Pancasila remains the moral foundation of Indonesia's economic system. Throughout different eras, the nation has faced many challenges, yet the core values of justice, unity, and humanity continue to guide its development. Revitalizing Pancasila in today's global and digital era is essential to ensure that Indonesia's economic growth remains fair, sustainable, and grounded in strong ethical principles. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Pelangi Putria. Thank you to all of the speakers' explanation today. We hope this discussion helped